Check, check, check. Mm. All right. All right, welcome back. Our second stream. We are going to try, we're going to try to do this a little more systematic to try this out. And so I'm going to dedicate this stream to one of the tasks that we had mentioned in the last stream, and that is to glue the wads. So this is something that I do to all of my pieces. Every piece needs to sit above the shelf, so it can't rest on it either on the foot, or especially when I side fire them, I have special stilts that holds those. But every cup gets a stilt, and I do this because um, most potters traditionally they do they're called wads, and so that's why I keep the name wadding. What I'll do is or when you make up wadding, it's the same material. It's 50% EPK, 50% alumina, and then you can kind of change that up depending on the kind of cracking that you get, or their, let's see, what is it, the alumina. Too much alumina and it won't hold together, and then too much EPK and they're not as brittle as they need to be. Um, that and then they react with salt and soda. So the material itself is the same, but I used to make up 3 wads per cup. So that's just rolling up a little ball of clay, and then you either use a glue or you can lick it and stick it. But you stick it to the bottom of the piece, and that method is really nice because once you get the wad stuck, you can kind of nestle it down into the material, and that gives it a really like a real stable footing. You definitely need that stability when it comes to any sort of cross draft kilns where either an anagama or a climbing or forced air kiln where it's directionally, where the atmosphere moves directionally. That's good because you need these to be very stable. My kiln isn't as it's not such a detrimental atmosphere, but I do still need them to be flat enough. So I take great care in making sure these things are flat, so that when they're in the firing, if talking and working, Kevin, talking and working. All right, did anybody see that? Let me see if anybody saw. Okay, I could say, okay, good. Nobody, nobody was here. Uh, I'll I'll make a note to erase that. Anyways, safe. All right. Yeah, okay, that happens. Or it won't be the last time that happens. All right, let's try that again. Uh, so so I take great care to make sure these are flat so that you when the cup is in the kiln, uh, it doesn't fall off sideways because there'll be nothing holding this other than its own balance. And so getting them set on is you know we take great care. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4. Am I missing a cup? I have 3 bricks. I don't know. Maybe a piece goes there. Maybe not. So anyways, what I'll do is I'll glue them on, and I'll take the wad, I'll dip it in glue, and then set it down as close to the center as I can, and then they'll go into the kiln that way. Wide feet, obviously, good for stability. High, thin feet like this, you have to be much more precise. And you can't tell here because it's glued on, and so you have to just really know, because once it's in the kiln, like this one has a very slight lean this way, and then you could see how it could just fall off this way if it's sitting any more any more up like that. So anyways, I have a lot of cups in here. I'm going to start bringing them right here, and we're going to glue some wads on and let this set up, and then we can start glazing. I'm looking for the glue. I use wood glue. It'll burn out in the firing. Now I need like a little flat dish to hold the wood glue. I think using these wads is a lot faster. It also gives me the ability to load the kiln by the shelf. So I can take all of these pieces, glue them down, load the shelf, and then move the shelf into the kiln, which is easier than sitting there bending down or hunched over in a kiln. If anybody knows how to keep wood glue from drying shut. Maybe that's not a problem. Maybe that'll do it. It's like I have to rethink how to do so that you can see it. These wads, by the way, are my absolute best wads I've ever made. I spent a lot of time making these as flat and straight edged as possible. This one here has 4. Let me see if that's going to focus. So this one has 4 cups with a 4-post bottom like that. All right, one more. Okay. Mm, all right, I'm gonna go grab the next batch. I'll be back. Hello, welcome in. If you have a question, let me know. Right now I am gluing wads to the bottom of this next batch of cups in preparation for a upcoming firing. It's very critical to make sure these things are straight because they're being glued on right now. And whenever I put them in the kiln on the shelf, they're going to stand upright. But then the glue is going to burn off in the firing. And when it does that, if it is not straight, then I'm going to take this one out. These are from past firings, and they've got just some leftover kiln wash. And I feel like if I need them, I'll use them, but I don't think I want to risk those right now. So I'm going to take all of these off. Mm, no. The wadding is important because if they fall off of the wad, they're going to more than likely hit something next to it and then knock it off. You don't typically get a domino effect that it might sound like, but what happens is one cup will fall over and then it'll lean up against another cup and then they stuck together. These here are what we're making. Little cups. Feel free to let me know if you have a question. I think these four here are porcelain. I think that is right. I think I just put glue on my face. Mm, these have not been ground down yet. See, this is another example of like one step. So to sign your name, like just to sign a piece, it takes an amount of time. And when you do a lot of anything, then it adds up. So to sign the piece is one action, but then after you sign it, you have to clean the burrs off where the clay has been displaced from the signature. And so here, this one has been cleaned down and this one is not. And so you have to then go through and clean all the signatures. Oh, here it is. I'll turn this mic off. I have to do a lot of cups. I'll use a metal or my other Dremel, and then I'll go through and just hit it with like a polishing bit, and it's usually abrasive enough to clean the signature. Terrible sound, kind of like nails on a chalkboard. The one thing I was thinking about doing for the live stream is that if, like there are elements that people enjoy watching more. I think pottery is often glamorized. Maybe that's any occupation. Maybe that's maybe that's just media. Media glamorizes, and but to be in a studio, it is, it's mostly just, doing the same task over and over. And and that's probably what any skill is. If you play a sport, then whatever that skill is in the sport, you're trying your best, you're doing your best, you're studying it, practicing it, failing, learning, studying, practicing, failing, learning. Um, and so with everything, you do it and you learn, but what we're so used to is just seeing that, that milestone attempt, the milestone, the competition, um, the show. But the reality is that what goes into every one of those skills is thousands or tens of thousands of attempts. And it's not usually glamorous. It's just consistent. Be consistent. Be consistent with anything, I guess you will eventually get there. I guess that also implies that there is somewhere that you're going, and I think a lot of people just do something just to have the experience. And the experience is enough. I was telling Leela that a lot of times we want to be hard on ourselves when things are slow to start up. But I was encouraging her to enjoy when it's slow, you know, um, allow it, allow it to just be a good thing. And like this, there's nobody here. Maybe someone pokes their head in. Maybe no one does. And it's very easy to want to just start thinking. You want to think that you're doing something wrong. And the reality is that, there is nothing wrong. It's just life. You're just moving through it. And I guess the idea is that more people want to move toward less pain, more pleasure. Just a little extra glue. If you don't have enough glue, then this will set up and then I'd be holding it to glaze. And if you're holding on to the tripod and it's not a lot of glue and it breaks off, then the piece ends up falling into the glaze. And that is pain. That is one of those pains that we were just talking about eliminating. But I think a lot of the pain just comes from our expectations. Disappointed in our expectations. We're almost done with this batch, and maybe 2 more trays. Okay, I think that's all of these. All right. All right, are these next ones are the new containers, and the way they're set up is similar to the wads. But what we do is we take the three, instead of having three wads placed on for the larger piece, I use these pre-made, and it's just like a little triangle of clay, and then I'll just glue three to each place on the foot. Like that. And then for the smaller, these are side fired. And so what I've done is I've built these stilts like this, and then they will be glued on to the piece sideways like that. And then when they sit in the kiln, that's how they'll sit. And this allows the glaze to run around the piece so that once it's finished firing, then you have glaze that has lateral striations like this. So this piece was fired on its side here and then on 3 points. And you get these really beautiful drips of glass where all the glazes are coming together. And so that's the purpose of the containers. The larger ones showcase the glaze in its more traditional um, vertical glaze runs, and then the smaller containers are all side fired like that. So we'll get these set up, and then I'm gonna start gluing them. Mm. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, we may have just enough. Hello, welcome in. I'm gluing wads for the next firing. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. I find it important to glue the wads on before glazing because then you see how it's going to sit in the kiln and then you can glaze accordingly. Oh, you know what I just saw? I just saw that I didn't sign this piece. It'll be a mystery. All right, this might be the easier way to do it. Always find the easy way. You want to make sure that these have a flat to a little bit of a downward angle. That way, all of any of the extra glaze on the inside would naturally come out toward the rim rather than pooling in toward the bottom. And so whenever I'm looking for these tripods, or I guess these would be, these little dual pin, what I'll do is I'll set it on first, and then you can see how the one in the front pushes it upwards. So then I would use that one as the back. So it's a little thing that I look for because some glazes do not have success when they pool. Whoever's here, thanks for being here. This is a startup. Today is our first official Workday Live. We came in here last week and went live. We went live near every day, just testing audio, video, and just trying to make the process of going live easy. So we feel like we're pretty much there in terms of quick, reliable setup. And so today is the day that we were going to go live with the intent of completing a project. And so that project is gluing wads. We've just glued down a few pans of little sake cups and sippers. We've got a few more. Let me see if I can bring these in. Okay, these were, I think, the overflow. No. What were these? Yeah, overflow. All right, so we'll glue those. And then these last ones are the side fire cups. Porcelain. Porcelain. These are stoneware. This is a white stoneware. This is a porcelain. I don't know if you can see the difference from. No, everything seems very blown out. I think it's maybe just too bright coming from the door in my studio. This is porcelain. This is a white stoneware. It's important because the stoneware is rated for cone 10, which is the measure of time and temperature up to the maturity of the glaze and clay that this is needed. And then this porcelain is actually rated to cone 12. And so I choose, every now and again, I'll choose these porcelain cups in order to side fire them, just like this cup that I was showing off earlier. This cup was side fired, and the porcelain can be side fired and still maintain its round shape, where a lot of these cone 10 clays, because I fire hotter than 10, in most cases it will slump and warp. It's not, the end of it, but when they're flat, that is a really nice attribute. Flat and level. All right, let me see how many of these I have before I glue them. So like I was saying, the goal today was just to go live, get the doors open, and just start working, and then time will kind of build the story. And so that's all we're doing, is just moving forward, trying to figure out how to work and create content at the same time, which is what we believe creating a virtual studio space will accomplish. And so that's what we're doing. We're going to try to be here, start working live. I've got some more equipment to order so that I can have like a multi-camera view. The idea would be to have a context shot from, let's say like the back of the studio, so I don't have to hunch over or bend over like that. I could have a context camera in the back, and then I could have a secondary close-up camera of like the table or the wheel, the grinding area, maybe the kiln outdoors, so having a dual camera setup, I think, would be really beneficial. Help tell the story. All right, so you can see how on this one, if it was fired up right, it's one of the decisions you can make. If you fire it up right, then the glaze is going to just simply pool into this area and have a nice cascading pool into the bottom. On this outside, it's going to do the same, but it's going to hit this edge. And when it hits that edge, it's going to create a break for blending, stopping, and then it's going to find the path of least resistance and then pour over toward the foot. So that's what would happen if we fired this upright. And then if we were to fire it side fire like this, then you could imagine that any glaze on it is going to run across its surface, but it's going to come down and hit this edge and then follow it around. You'll see more of it on the top, but depending on the glaze, you could completely lose the edge on the bottom half, because as the glaze runs around, if it's like a matte or an opaque glaze, then as it runs around, it's going to thin at the top, to where you could see and possibly feel this ridge at the top, but then underneath it could have a nice, beautiful bead of glass that came around. And then clearly all of that glass will be moving down toward this upper lip and rim, just like this piece. So these are going to be for side fire. That will take a little bit more time to glue those down. Mm, I don't want to risk a broken wad. I don't think it's worth it. All right, so this was the problem that I'm having with my side-fired pieces. So I want them to go on the shelf linked together like a train. So if I put a piece up, that, then I could put another piece together. So I could side fire them. I could side fire them linked together like this rather than one at a time, like that. But if I do it like this, I can't glaze them like that. So I'd have to set it up, take them off, glaze them, and then put them on. But these are the last ones that I need to glue. So I think it's something I'll just deal with another time. See, this is how a side-fired piece would sit in the kiln. I make these little tripods with these high temp wire pins, and then you just tilt the cup so the glaze will run around. It'll hit the pin, but it won't attach to it. And then you can get glaze effects like this one. So this cup here was side fired. Like this. So it sat on the tripod like that. So that's what these are going to be. And linking them together offers more versatility and stability, but it does not give me the ability to glaze after I glue it down and then put it in the kiln. Well, I think that's everything. I'm not going to try to glue those side fired pieces down until I can be certain how they're going to go in the kiln. So I think that what I'll do is go ahead and end this stream. We just finished gluing all of those 8 containers. No, that's 10 containers. We've got the 10 containers glued down. We got all of the flower bowls glued down and all of the sake cups, all their wads. minus these few side fired. So we'll wait till we're about to glaze, and then I'll try to make a decision on how these are going to be done, and we'll figure it out. All right, we're gonna end this one now. Thank y'all for stopping by. Like I said, we're gonna work through this and continue learning how to bring our studio live. And so right now we're just knocking out some tasks, and we're going to try to move toward firing the kiln. So we have our gas kiln outside. We haven't fired in about 3 years, and I want to fire this sculpture behind us. It's been hanging out in the studio for, well, you can't see that. Oh, I can turn this off. There we go. So this sculpture right here, we want to get that into the kiln. It's been hanging out here for quite a while, and I think it's time. So that's the goal. We're going to fill in the rest of the space with cups and keep moving forward. Thank y'all for being here. See y'all next time.